Hey y'all, today familiar face, hasn't been on in a while, but very busy man. Just got off of putting together the NBA highlights and the wrap up of the season. It's Beau Estes from from NBA TV. We were just talking about now that the regular season's over, he's got light work.
Yeah. Life gets easier, Matt. It's funny. I feel out of breath right now. You and I are chatting right here just after I finished doing a 15-game day in the NBA regular season finale. So, as I'm working and as I'm calling all these highlights, there are playoff implications. This team's playing that team. Meanwhile, Minnesota Timberwolves players are getting in fights with each other. One guy broke his hand walking down the tunnel. I mean, you're just trying to keep up with it all and do the job. And meanwhile, the Masters is on somewhere in the background. So it's a huff and puff sort of a day. It's fun.
Guys, the breaking the hand. I mean, it's
oh my gosh. That's a self-inflicted wound. I mean, obviously.
It's just like you're not going to be effective. You've taken yourself off. I mean, how severe is the injury?
Well, I mean, I don't think certainly can't play in the play-in. So Minnesota's going to be in the play-in against the Lakers. I don't think he'll be available for that. I can't imagine. Nobody's said anything specifically, but I've never seen a basketball player that shoots with his right hand playing with a broken right hand 2 days later. I don't know how you could do it. So it's a
LeBron
challenge,
messed
right?
up his hand. Remember in the playoff finals where LeBron's like where the classic meme with him and J.R. Smith, and he's like, that game he punched something and his hand was kind of messed up, but I don't know if it was broken.
Yeah, I think broken is something else. I think broken becomes non-functional. But again, I'm just guessing. The challenge here is, so Minnesota Timberwolves put together this team with the eye on getting to the playoffs. They have a real chance to do that now. Just win one of the next two games, and they've sort of accomplished that first objective. And you just see a team in full meltdown with Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert mixing it up on the sidelines. And then I was reading Shams Charania's reporting, and Shams basically said there's what you saw on the sidelines was just a part of it. It got worse as they went back to the locker room. So I don't know. I mean, at this point, they send Rudy Gobert home. Rudy sends a message in the team chat. Really sorry, guys, but they gotta get right quick. That's what's got to happen.
Oh my gosh! And so you said that they play LeBron and the Lakers in the play-in.
Yeah, that's the matchup, and that's not a good matchup because the Lakers are getting better in a hurry. They made some trades at the trade deadline and acquired some players that really made this team better, and they're healthy now. And they're going to, I mean, so if you look at the Western Conference playoffs, the 1 seed's the Denver Nuggets, 6 is Golden State. Those are the ones we know, and then the play-in determines the rest. But I'll tell you right now, with the Lakers in the play-in and likely to lock up the 7 seed, I would not be surprised to see both the 7 and the 6 seed beat the 2 and the 3 seed. So that would pit Golden State against the Lakers in the second round. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
That'd be classic.
Oh my gosh, it would be fantastic. Yeah, it's something everybody wants to see. I mean, I think, Golden State really had a good path in the playoffs last year. Things sort of worked out for them.
Absolutely.
Ja Morant gets injured. Dallas goes on a heater and knocks out Phoenix. Honestly, I think, had they gotten that 5 seed, it would have been interesting to see them go up against Kevin Durant, and Andrew Wiggins hadn't played a moment yet after coming back. So that would have been a real challenge to go up against that Phoenix Suns team right out of the gate.
Andrew Wiggins is he's got to get his wind back, of course, because being off,
Sure.
Any amount of time is gonna hurt your ability. But he's Mr. Consistency. I mean, the guy is just a walking 19, 3 assists, 2 assists, 6 rebound, just roll out of bed.
To me, he was easily, and I think everybody, there's general agreement on this, he was easily their second best player in the championship run last year. It was Steph, obviously, who was the dominating force. And then Andrew Wiggins, not just because of the stuff you mentioned on offense, but because he is their best wing lockdown defender. He's 6'8", he's
Absolutely.
very athletic. He works himself silly out there. I talked to, when I heard Andrew Wiggins was coming back, and for everybody that doesn't know, his father had an illness. That's why he was away from the team. And we're happy that he's back with his team now. But I texted with an NBA player right after it was announced he was coming back, and I said, how long do you need after being away for more than 20 games to be right again? And he said, you start to feel close after 5 games, but that's regular season. So he thinks like 7 games, something like that, and Andrew Wiggins will start to feel like he's okay.
Wow.
So that takes you, through, if he's really fast, if he's good after 5 games, that's into the second round when he's starting to be pretty good again. So, Golden State's going to have a challenge with Sacramento. Sacramento is a matchup problem on some level for them, because Golden State's bigs are their weakness. Kevon Looney's a very good player, but he's all they really have down there. Then you get into Draymond, and Domantas Sabonis is an all-star for a reason. He's dominant down low. So that's going to be a struggle for the Warriors. But this being a young Sacramento team with no playoff experience, you got to love the Warriors in that series. And there's hardly any travel for that old team. The Warriors are mainly comprised of 30-somethings. I say old team, and I'm in my 50s, but you know what I'm saying. So I think it's just one of those things that I think that matchup really suits Golden State. But you never know. In one series, anything can happen.
Absolutely. That's it, and especially with the play-in is going to be really interesting this year. Who's the play-in team that you think has the opportunity to really knock someone off?
Well, I think in the West it's the Lakers for sure. I mean, I think the Lakers could, potentially. I mean, things have to fall right for them, but the Lakers could get all the way to the NBA Finals, I feel like. I know that sounds ridiculous right now because of what we saw early in the season, but the team that's on the court now is really good. Really,
it's a different team without Russell Westbrook. I mean,
Jared Vanderbilt
hard to say
really fits in.
Yeah.
I mean, Rui Hachimura fits in. All these guys, you're
He's
right.
a great piece for the playoffs.
Yes, all those things just work.
Is a great piece for the playoffs.
It just all works, and it works together. And when you get rid of Russell Westbrook, who to his credit is doing very well with the Clippers,
absolutely,
it adds something for these other players. Like a Dennis Schroeder has risen up a little bit in that space. So I just think the Lakers are as good as they've been, and if you've got a healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron James, you can really do something. I think for the Lakers to get to the finals, I think Anthony Davis has to be their best player, weirdly, and you don't say that often about LeBron, but I just think that Anthony Davis is still capable of being so incredibly dominant in high-level games. And we've sort of forgotten it because he's been hurt so much lately, but I think he can put something special together.
And his motor runs hot and cold. If Anthony Davis with Kobe Bryant's motor is, Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because you look at when you're drafting a player, a lot of what you're drafting is skills, and their talent and their abilities. And what you don't know as well, particularly like take the case of James Wiseman, the Warriors had like 4 college games to go off of and his high school tape when they draft him. But what James Wiseman's physical ability is incredible. And you see him go to Detroit and he easily puts up numbers, but there are aspects of the game that he really struggles with. And that's some of that stuff is motor type stuff, heart, intensity, desire. He has to have that to become the sort of player you'd like to see him become.
So we talked about, and I agree with you. I think that the Lakers, I'm enjoying watching this Lakers team play. The ball hops around. You've got, LeBron. He's got that look in his face. Anthony Davis at the moment, his motor is running hot at the moment. But let's say for a second, LeBron finishes off this campaign, brings a team from the in to win the championship, might be the first team to do that, to be able to accomplish that. Do
Play
you
into
think
the
that
championship
could?
for
Oh,
sure.
I'm sorry.
If
Yes,
that's what you're saying, if you're saying,
and
yeah, nobody's
so
done play into the championship for sure.
that would be another accolade to add.
Yep.
Do you think that he could really add to his legacy in a way that would change minds, or do you think that people are too dug in on the conversation and now on LeBron?
I love that you can say the conversation and everybody in the world knows what you're talking about. First things first, I just absolutely love that. I think that, yeah, that may help. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I think that may help. I think I'll tell you a few thoughts on this. I think that, and I've talked to some people that I work with about this, that when the moment happened when he passed Kareem, there wasn't as much of an overwhelming sense of look at this as I had hoped there would be. And I don't know what
That's
I
right.
thought there would be. I don't know if I thought that he was going to float up out of the arena, and I just didn't know. I thought it was going to be bigger than it was. But then I started thinking
Yep.
about it, like when Emmitt Smith passed Walter Payton, did everybody go, he's the greatest ever? No, nobody
Yep.
did. It's just it's a longevity and health plus excellence number. So I think people sort of recognize that. But I will say this: LeBron James is easily the best player this century to me, easily. And if you're younger and you say LeBron, it has to be the greatest I've ever seen or the greatest ever. I understand that. I really do. I don't have a problem with a young person saying that and feeling confidently about that. I really don't. One thing I've sort of landed on, and I think a lot of people sort of are falling in line with this idea, and it's sort of it's sort of quick and easy, but it makes sense. MJ flew higher, LeBron flew longer, or LeBron flew farther. I think at his apex, everybody recognizes MJ was the more dominating force.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like he didn't have this long career. I mean, LeBron
and long peak.
Yeah.
LeBron's peak is long too. It's a decade long. I mean, Heat LeBron to now.
Is he done peaking? I don't even know if he's done peaking. I mean, like I can look at him physically and say that's not the same thing I saw before, but he still manages to get the numbers and do the things he needs to do. The other thing I would say is that LeBron really seems to have this on his mind, and it's noticeable on the outside. He wants this GOAT title in a way that for some is uncomfortable, almost like he's marketing himself this way, and he's trying. And there's like, of all the people in the world you shouldn't feel sorry for, LeBron isn't one, but I do a little bit, right? Because I feel like there's deep down inside of him, if you could get him to be really honest, I feel like he knows it didn't happen. And in his heart, he's like, what do I have to do? I mean, in the world, what else do I have to do to, what did he call it? That ghost in Chicago, to pass that ghost in Chicago. And I get it. The other thing I would say is that there's just something like, if you remember the Cleveland All-Star game, and is MJ going to show up? Is MJ not going to show up? And it's the 75 players or whatever. And it's in Cleveland, And when Michael Jordan is announced, easily the biggest applause, people going nuts. There is something about that guy in a room that is still more like, oh my gosh, than LeBron. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what that magic is, but he has it. And, I've talked to players and coaches about that. There's an NBA coach who used to say that if every NBA player was in a room, they're all looking at LeBron. And there was a TNT producer who looked at him and said, what if MJ walks in? And deadpan, he goes, that nobody's looking at LeBron. And we were all like,
because sports, that's the essence of sports though, because MJ just has those magical moments. You said it perfectly, like those magical moments to stick in your brain to say,
Yeah, you're
the
right.
Elo shot, the North Carolina shot, the shot over Russell,
Yep.
those moments. LeBron's got the one like moment
The
was like
block.
the block. So he needs more of that. If he's listening to this episode, Bron, you got
Please
two
do,
people
LeBron.
who love to watch,
Yeah.
who love to watch you play. But you've got to get more of those moments. That's what will change the conversation in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's almost done, but if the Lakers won the title this year, that has to move the meter some. It can't not.
Yes.
It has to. So I think there's still a little bit of room around the margins to move it, but I do think I've sort of landed on MJ flew higher, LeBron flew farther, whatever you want to say, longer, farther, whatever you want to say. But I've sort of landed on that, and I think that's probably where everybody is. That peak MJ is the peak of anything we've ever seen, and LeBron's long running prime is unlike anything we've ever seen.
So LeBron, should he win, if he were to win, he'd be 5-6 in finals.
Yep. Yep, really good. I mean, that's 5 championships and 11 appearances. It's incredible. It's
And
incredible.
and two of those, I'm gonna give him credit. Two of those finals that he made it, he was completely outgunned. I mean, that year, the last
The
time that they
Spurs
got
year
cooked, yes, the first Spurs year and then the last Spurs year, he was completely outgunned with a
had
broken
no
down
hope.
D Wade.
Yeah, and then think about the Kevin Durant years.
Yeah,
So like the championship against him. So I mean, there is sort of a what do you want me to do in this situation? Uh,
seriously.
yeah, like how am I supposed to? He's always going to have the Mavs series when he was with the Heat is
That's
always
right.
going to be very bad for him.
That's
Um,
that's the
but
one.
good friend of mine, the late great Sekou Smith, said
Mhm.
that once he lost head to head to Kevin Durant, that was over because he thought that Kevin Durant outperformed LeBron individually. He said that was it for LeBron for him. Like he said because MJ would never individually get outperformed. His team might, but he would always be the player of the series. So I think
Yeah, but
it's
it's it's
tough,
it's
right?
like it's like if you're playing wide receiver and like, if I'm Michael Irvin and this is Jerry Rice, and Jerry Rice doesn't have to worry about anybody, the other team can double cover him. I mean, who in NBA history can create more space than Steph Curry? I mean,
Oh, I know.
it's
It's in,
impossible to double team two guys.
well, and you're right. And so, like, I've thought about all this stuff too much to be healthy, frankly. Which is why I'm sort of glad to land on, one flew higher, one flew farther, or whatever.
Absolutely.
But it is a thing where, like, I mean, I even saw LeBron today. The Lakers beat the Timberwolves, and I'm looking at the highlight. I'm calling the highlight on this silly mic you're seeing right here,
Yep.
and I'm looking, and like I'm about to announce that the Lakers clinch the 7th seed, but I see a note: LeBron crowns himself. So
Yes.
the video's right on my screen, so I see him go like this, and I'm like, the Lakers clinched the 7th seed as LeBron
Right.
crowns himself. And I'm like, that even sounds weird. Like, what am I
Yes.
even talking about? But like,
Skip
it's
Bayless
such
is
a
gonna
thing.
have fun tomorrow.
No, yeah. And then, like the players doing the goat thing in the background, the goat noises in the background
Yes.
of the locker room.
Bah.
And you're like, they're trying really hard. And
Absolutely.
it's something almost like when MJ says, I don't care. And LeBron can't say, I don't care, because you can see it's driving him crazy.
That's
Um,
right.
and I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with wanting something.
Hmm.
But it's painful because you think, I don't think he's gonna get what he wants, actually.
It's like
He,
Kobe, though. Kobe wanted it. People love Kobe Bryant. Kobe wanted to be Michael Jordan. It was just dripping from him.
you know what? You're
I
right.
love
And but I
Kobe.
and yeah, you're right. So why does Kobe get treated better on that? Because he fell short, and LeBron probably falls short. And another guy that gets treated well is a guy who had Tiger Woods as a kid, had Jack Nicklaus's records hung up on
That's
his
right.
wall. And I'm
That's right.
shooting for this guy, and he came up short. Or let's stop that. Let me check that. he's to this point come up short. I'd never
Yes.
count out Tiger Woods. The one thing I will say is the British Open keeps 60-year-olds in that tournament. I mean, 60-year-olds can win that tournament because the wins and everything like that. So Tiger Woods could win for another 15 years as far as I'm concerned. But to this point, he's come up short. But I think there is some grace allowed for Tiger and for Kobe that may not be allowed for LeBron. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of the way he acts. I don't know.
Yes.
I,
It's
I,
because he came out gunning to be the GOAT. Kobe didn't, he came out, he was arrogant, but it was like, I'm arrogant and I'm great. He didn't come out day one, say, I'm going to be better than Michael Jordan.
Yeah, you're right. So it's tough. He gunned for Jordan clearly, but he wanted that heat, and there was some sort of like respect given to him for that. But the way that LeBron keeps trying to crown himself
Yes.
is very weird. Like I don't remember Kobe ever doing like 2-3 and crossing him out or something like that. There was
Yeah.
just never that moment, and LeBron does that, and so there was a close relationship between Kobe and MJ that people seem to enjoy. There's a really close relationship between Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus that golf fans seem to enjoy. So I don't know what it is exactly. I can't put my finger on it. I can only guess. But there's a part of me there's just a small part of me that really feels bad for LeBron. Which is stupid because I live in the same town as LeBron and he's got a much better life than I do. So I mean, like, why am I feeling sorry for him? But it
in
is
this
because,
respect,
yeah,
yes.
it's a thing that clearly means so much to him that I don't think he's going to get. And the other thing you have to say about LeBron is he's done everything right in his life. He's done everything. Like, think about this guy.
That's right.
As a kid who came from high school to the pros, never ever done a step wrong.
Right.
Has put his heart and soul into his craft, has kept himself healthy for years and years and years, way past when most players do. Gives, and still, not universally loved in the same way as some other athletes. I don't know why.
Absolutely. So from the greatest of all time, the conversation quote, to the greatest of today. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan, but I just got to say, to
It's
my
not gonna
eye, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player alive.
What's interesting?
Playing.
Yeah. What's interesting to me about that is the amount of, it's not universal agreement, but general agreement that it's Giannis. And what it is, I think the difference to me, Joel Embiid is a better skilled offensive player. He's a more skilled offensive player, and just an incredible talent on that end. And the other thing you forget about until you stand next to all three of them is how overwhelmingly enormous Embiid is. He's just a huge physical presence.
Yep.
But the thing that separates it for me is Giannis has the MJ thing going. He is a top 5 offensive player in the world. He's a top 5 defensive player in the world.
That's right.
And with the other two guys in the argument, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, you cannot make that claim. You cannot legitimately make that claim. In fact, there is some concern with Jokic that his numbers are way inflated because he's such a poor defender in some respects at the bucket. He's a very poor defender at the bucket.
He's a turnstile.
Yeah. And so Howard Beck is a friend of mine. He's a famous writer, written for the New York Times, Sports Illustrated, etc. And Howard wrote an article for GQ the other day and talking about, how there's the voter fatigue idea. Like, we can't just give it to Jokic again. But I'll tell you this. The Basketball Reference has a tracker, an MVP tracker. If Nikola Jokic does not win this year, he will have been the highest ranked player to not win that award. He is like 60% odds on favorite to win it. I don't think he's going to win it, but I think the stats indicate he should win it. So what I'm telling you when I say that is maybe the stats aren't the whole picture. Maybe defense isn't weighed in enough, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to be gentle about this because I work with a lot of stats guy, but like, I'm just telling you, like, to me, Giannis is clearly the best player, right? Fine, whatever. He's on the best team. I mean, they've got the best record.
That's right.
But I think, there's a lot of talk about, I think it was, who was it? Hollinger the other day, John Hollinger said that basically, is it right for history to say that Giannis or Jokic has 3 MVPs, the other one has 2 MVPs, and Embiid has no MVPs? Is
Yep.
that a right account of this era that I'm in? And I have mixed feelings on that, but you can talk me into, if it's a tie, give the darn thing to Embiid. I really can be talked into that.
The problem is I think with Embiid, everybody's kind of just he suffered. It's a regular season award, but we don't live in a time, in a vacuum. And I think all of our minds are like, this guy is not getting his team past the second round. Can I really say that he was the best player this year?
Yep.
If he makes a conference finals and does this again next year, then he might get it. And I think he might get it this year. But I understand why people kind of are skeptical. It's like, this guy's got to really be a title contender.
I'll be honest with you. I think he's winning the award this year. I feel unreasonably confident that it's going to be him. Almost, I would say 80-90% certain that he's going to win.
Okay.
I really believe that. But you bring up an interesting point. I was talking with the guy who runs the NBA handle, the NBA Twitter handle, and we were discussing the idea of like correcting for history, which is what you're talking about. Embiid hasn't got there yet. So can I give him this award that is not for what he's done in the past? It has nothing to do with it. It's just this season. But do I put an eye back there and say, I'm not comfortable giving it to this guy? And therefore also adding Nikola Jokic to that list, because he's gotten to the Western Conference Finals, but he hasn't gotten to the finals. He hasn't gotten to the championship. So Giannis is the one of those 3 that has done that. And there's a pretty well-known college basketball writer and host named Tate Frazier, who said something to me about a year and a half ago. He said, I think Giannis is the only active player in the NBA with a chance at knocking Michael Jordan off his GOAT throne.
I believe it.
And I was sitting there and I thought, like, we're watching LeBron chase Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but you're sort of the jury's in on LeBron, where he's at, where he lands in history. But with Giannis, he does have the thing that MJ has, where he's, maybe the best defensive player in the league, maybe the best offensive player in the league. And he keeps going and going and going and going. So if he strings
and he
together,
wins.
Yes.
And he
so
wins.
Let's say the Bucks win this year and then they win next year and he's got 3. Now all of a sudden you're starting to wonder about, okay, is MJ safe from this guy? Because like he really does have the same thing as MJ, where he is absolutely dominant on both ends of the floor.
And I hear people, I encounter a lot of Sixers fans, people who want Embiid to get and we both believe that he will.
Yes.
But people try to make it like Drew Holiday is Scottie Pippen. I'm sorry. Giannis's team
He's not. You're right. So Giannis's team is Giannis's team is the best.
Well put together. Yeah.
Yeah. There's as far as an instant Hall of Famer on that team outside of Giannis, like a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't think there is one.
No,
I genuinely don't. Chris Middleton has been to 2 or 3 All-Star games. Drew Holiday's been to 2 All-Star games, and he's a very good defensive player. He's on the line. Win another 2 championships with these guys. Maybe they're all Hall of Famers. But right now, they're not Hall of Famers to me. Giannis is the only one on that squad.
By far. He's by far the best player on his team by there's
no question.
4th place. There's no Robin. There's Batman's people who helped him create the suit.
You know what? You bring up an interesting question. Let's say that the top 3 teams in the East are Milwaukee, Philly, Boston, right?
Yeah.
So if you're drafting from those teams, okay, let's just say you draft Giannis first.
Yep.
When do you come back to that Bucks roster?
Late. I mean,
because you got Tatum.
I'm taking Brown, Tatum,
Embiid, Brown, right?
Embiid.
James Harden probably.
Harden before I take Middleton, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
how
not even in the starting five.
No, that's what I'm saying. So like that's how heavy his load is. They're a very good team, and like you said, well put together. But the best players outside of him in the East aren't on his team. That said, I still
Right.
think he's got the best team. I still think that if they're healthy, they're winning the championship.
That's great roster construction. They work together well, but
Yeah, yeah,
individual talents, no. Like
yeah. And
if the Bucks lose Giannis for 3 or 4 games in the playoffs, they might be cooked.
yeah. Well, injuries determine the playoffs so much. It bothers me how much I recognize that now. Uh, and I don't want it to be that way, but it happens. So, well, look, the Minnesota
Absolutely.
Timberwolves today learned the Minnesota Timberwolves, Golden State Warriors. Is Wiggins going to be okay? What's going on
Mhm.
with Paul George with the LA Clippers? Nikola Jokic came back for part of one game with a calf strain. What are the playoffs going to look like? I mean, who knows at this point? So that's a big wild card for me all the time. You tell me the healthiest elite team, and I think they got a pretty good shot.
So we brought up the Lakers plan on playing as the most dangerous Western Conference team playing in the play-in. What about in the East?
Oh gosh, that's so tough for me. I I don't think the Atlanta Hawks have much, even though they're there. If they get the 8 seed, what you're talking about, Milwaukee, they're not dangerous at all. They're not
Mhm.
dangerous at all to Milwaukee. The problem with this all is that when we looked at the Western Conference, right? Those
Mhm.
teams that are in the play-in or in the back half of the top 4 seedings, like the 5 and the 6 teams, are a legitimate threat to the top teams in
That's
the
right.
Western Conference. The
That's right.
top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference are dominant. To
Yes.
me, they're the 3 best teams in the NBA. Those are the 3 best teams in the NBA. You have to get to number 4 to go to the Western Conference. So, the challenge is I don't really care, could Chicago threaten anybody? Eh, I don't think so.
In a four, the
In a best of
Chicago's the
7?
one, and then in the Knicks, yeah, because they if let's say Levine gets just hot and DeRozan is clicking from mid range, and then they've got Vucevic who can bang. I don't want the Sixers to have to deal with the Bulls. If the Bulls make it to the second round, I'm not just rolling my eyes at that second
You know
round
what?
potential matchup.
Here's the play-in. Let's talk about it. Miami Heat are probably the one dangerous team, maybe,
Okay.
in the play-in. Because they're likely going to play the Boston Celtics, which you'd love them to just beat Boston up and down the
Ooh,
court in
that would be
long
just
physical
great.
series. Is Toronto dangerous for any of the top teams? Because they would be the 8.
No.
The only team that can, the winner of Miami, Atlanta gets the 7 seed. Toronto and Chicago can only get the 8 seed and play Milwaukee. I don't find them dangerous in that scenario
No.
at all.
No. No.
So I don't. The only team that I think could be a danger, and maybe just to Boston, is Miami. I think they could be a danger, but they're not quite the team they were last year. And Boston may be better with Malcolm Brogdon. So I don't know.
Wow. So
Yeah.
the Sixers swept the Nets in the first 3 games by a combined 16 points, and then overall after beating them by 29 the other day, it's 45 points. How many games do you expect the Nets to get off of the Sixers with, of course, our favorite basketball player of all time, Mr. Ben Simmons?
Oh God. Oh, I don't know what's going on with him. I hope it gets better, but
Me too.
I
I liked watching him play basketball. He was good.
yes, he's good play. I mean, like something mentally has checked out with the guy, and it's very
Absolutely.
sad.
It
Um,
is.
I think at most it's a 5-game series. At most, I wouldn't be
Wow.
surprised if the Sixers sweep them. Look, Bridges is a great player, and is going to be a star. Cam Johnson's a nice player. And I'm a North Carolina fan. I'll tell you, he's a nice player. He's not, if he's your second best player, that's troubling. They've got some talent there. I just don't know. It's not going to threaten Philly. If Philly
No.
plays okay, if Philly doesn't lose their mind, if James Harden doesn't pop a quad, then I think they're okay. And even if he does, I mean, I think Tyrese Maxey can get you by that series. if Philly stays healthy, they got a chance to go to the championship. They got a chance to win the championship. What am I talking about? They got a chance to win the championship.
Embiid has to be clear cut the best player on the floor though every night.
Yeah, he
Because
has to be
Harden doesn't
overwhelmed.
have that 40-point Harden. He's not 40-point Harden anymore.
No, he's 23 and 12 assists Harden.
Yeah,
which is still
exactly.
very good, but it's not the same thing. I'm excited for Philadelphia. I am. I think it could be, you just never know how these things are going to play out. Boston and Philly, that matchup is fascinating to me. And, that's a matchup I've watched since the 80s. So it's such a classic basketball rivalry that I would love to see them play. I don't know who that favors. I think it probably favors Boston.
It does.
But I don't know. Yeah,
it's fascinating for all the wrong reasons for me and people who share my fandom. Because
bad matchup.
It's a bad matchup, and they're kind of in the Sixers' heads, really. To be frank, I mean, I think the way it looks, I mean, they, all the way before the process even began, the last time that the Sixers have never made it past where the Evan Turner, Drew Holiday Sixers made it to, which is the second round against that Celtics team that pushed LeBron in them 7 games. And
let me ask you this.
They never made it past that.
As a Philly fan, is a conference finals appearance a success this year?
Absolutely.
You take that and run.
Absolutely, no question about it. It was in the grand scheme, just like in a tangential, like another team, the Eagles. Yep. Of course, the Philly fans wanted the McNabb Eagles to win a Super Bowl, but it is a credit to his legacy that he finally broke through and got that to the Super Bowl and only lost the Super Bowl at 3 points. That counts. Like the Sixers haven't been to a conference finals in 22 years.
I think they have a real shot. I mean, they have a real shot. And so if Boston gets to the NBA championship, if Philly gets the NBA championship, if Milwaukee gets the NBA championship, I think they're the favorite against whoever they play. The only thing that I could see being a problem for them is if somehow Golden State puts everything together and they're just in turbo mode and flying around the court. Right. Steph Curry's making 19 threes a game or whatever he's doing. I mean, that's the only possible situation that could upend Philly specifically. I think Boston can handle that. And for years, Milwaukee's been a hell matchup for Golden State. So I don't know, if Milwaukee gets there, I don't know that Golden State has much of a shot against them. It'd be ugly, I think, because of the overwhelming size inside. Brook Lopez and Giannis down there, and then Bobby Portis can stretch the court out. I mean, you keep going back to it. It's a well put together team.
It is.
They're there to crush it.
It's a 4-2. I got to give Steph Curry just because he's in my eyes, one of the top 12 probably players ever. Yeah. I'm going to give him 2 wins, but that's a strong 2 wins, and I could really see that being 1.
Well, and it's one of those heater things, right? Like if Steph goes 10 for 14 from 3 and Clay goes 8 of 12, I don't care who you put out there, you're not beating them. I mean, that's just overwhelming. And the weird thing is they can do that, and that's not out of the realm for them to do that. So I think, I don't ever think anybody's going to sweep Golden State, because I think every 4 games that's going to happen for them.
That's right.
But I do think over time, the overwhelming size of Milwaukee, and not that it's just size, but it's in large part mobile size. Every Golden State fan will say, we'll just put Brook Lopez in a pick and roll and run him off the court. Okay. I mean, that's a great thing to say on Twitter, but I think they can account for that and switch back and stuff like that. So
somehow they keep getting number 1 seeds with Brook Lopez as the number 1 as their center.
Well, and it helps on the offensive end that he's able to stretch the floor and open up that lane for Giannis, and that center can't be sitting down there waiting on Brook. Or on Giannis. So it works on that team because they're put together so well. I'm excited, man. I'm excited about it. There's just so many possibilities this year. Out west, anybody of the top 7, you could convince me. Like the one wild card in that top 7 is, when does Paul George come back? If Paul George comes back anytime, it's tough because they're going up against Kevin Durant in the
That's
first
right.
round. They didn't want that. You could tell by the way they were playing today that they would have
Absolutely.
loved for Minnesota to have spanked New Orleans. They could have
Yep.
lost to Phoenix, and they could have gone against Sacramento in the first round. But it just didn't work out that way. So they got to take on Kevin Durant. So good luck to them. But you need Paul George there.
Well, the travel time will be very short. Phoenix
On
to
both
LA.
series. Golden State to Sacramento's a breeze, and Phoenix and LA is a breeze. It's a great series travel time wise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's an efficient trip. So, honestly, it's going to be one of those things where I have no clue what's happening. I really don't. And if the Lakers don't trip up in this first playing game, I really almost would favor them over Memphis. With all that's going on in Memphis this year, they don't seem to have their head screwed on right. And now Steven Adams out, sort of that enforcer, that veteran presence that can calm them down when they lose their minds. Like Ja Morant's otherworldly talented, but
Absolutely.
it's so important for him to take this moment in these playoffs seriously and to build a sort of a new narrative for him going forward.
Absolutely.
I think he needs
Absolutely.
that. I think he needs that because if things go bad and he looks bad while things go bad, I think fingers start pointing at him, and maybe some
Absolutely.
fairly, maybe some unfairly.
And he gets branded and he loses money. I mean,
Oh, he's going to lose a lot of money. He's going to lose a lot of money. And there's new stuff coming out there, so it's concerning, man. It's one of those things where I just think it's so important to have a veteran that you trust in your
that's
ear.
right.
Like
That's right.
I'll even go as far as to say, like when Draymond punched Jordan Poole this year, I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody, and like David West said that Kevin Durant would have never left the Warriors if he wouldn't have retired, because David West, I don't know how much you know, he's one of the 2 guys in the league that you absolutely do not mess with. And
Yep.
Draymond knew it. Draymond knew
Yep.
it. So like if David West said, that's enough, Draymond stops right there and then. So I think that to have a guy that can do that is just useful for every team. And it's not, the buddy I was talking to said, it's not that like David West is going to beat Draymond up or anything like. It's
That's
never
right.
that. It's just like
Yep.
just a guy that can say, that's it, stop,
Yep.
and just
Yep.
you listen to it, right? It registers to you. So
Yep.
I hope Ja gets that guy, and it doesn't seem to be Steven Adams.
No.
Steven Adams apparently has gone off on him a couple times, and it
But
maybe
Steven
makes
Adams
things worse.
doesn't have the game enough to you got to
Yeah,
combine the skill with the
yeah.
toughness.
Yeah. Steven Adams is just like a Marvel superhero, but it's
That's
not a
right.
basketball player, right? And he's also a little
No.
bit older now. So, yeah, I would hope there would be a guy that they could bring in that could just sort of get to him and push him in the right direction, because, like this could be a blip on the radar, right? Like we could be talking in 10 years and like remember that when Ja was young and he sort of struggled for a minute and then he got things going right. This could really be that story, and you hope it is,
Yes.
but it could go the other way too. So I'm hopeful that he's got the right people in his ear that are really have his best interest at heart rather than their best interest on, being on his good side at heart.
Absolutely. And I was joking earlier, but again, if somebody sends this over to Ja, you have the pen in your hand, man. You're still writing your story, your life story. Your life story
Yes.
doesn't have to be what it has been in the past. We're dynamic. We have the ability to change and learn and be better
Yes.
people. So
Yes, man. Yes, he has the chance right now. And look, like I said, if things go really well and he lifts that franchise up and, he has a really good, playoffs and maybe a good off season, his life's good. I mean, he's great.
that's
Everything's
right.
great for him.
And everybody
He had,
likes a redemption story. He kind of
love
misled.
it.
You can't sell your own story as that's for somebody else to call it, but whatever. People
I
love a
didn't even think
redemption
about
story.
this, but I think it's one of those things where, you're right. America does love that redemption story. I even thought about there's been a lot of hot moments in basketball where I thought, just a veteran and somebody like Angel Reese's
Yeah.
story. Like Angel Reese had, I played basketball, so I thought,
Mhm.
like, she had every right to smack talk me, every single right in the world.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, fine, do it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, if you played basketball, you understand that
That's right.
basketball. That's basketball.
Yes.
So the people that were getting upset and everything like that,
That's
I
right.
got. And then I even understood when she was originally upset with Dr. Jill Biden. I understood why she was upset.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
and so like I thought, okay, I get that too. And I thought, like, I really thought, like, to me, if I really like, if again, it's like diving in. If you really know the truth, I don't think Dr. Biden meant anything. I think she was like
No.
saying, let's try to, this is
Yes.
what happened
Kumbaya.
was this is the
Yes.
greatest moment in women's basketball history for college. As
That's
far
right.
as the ratings were incredible, the
Yes.
matchup was great, and the whole world was paying attention to this moment.
Yes. That's
Let's
right.
celebrate it. I thought that's where she was, because I went
Yes.
back and looked at the transcript of what she said, and it seemed like that. But I got why Angel was upset. So
Absolutely.
when Angel said, we're not going to the White House, we're going to the Obamas, I thought to myself, I don't think she knows how close the Obamas and the
That's
Bidens are.
It was a miss.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a miss.
that's where I was like, I don't think she knows that. And this is where I wish somebody, like, I'm always thinking of like some adult that can just say,
Yes.
I totally get what you're saying, man. And you're right.
Yes.
Let me just offer a little perspective. Just a little perspective, so you know what's up. And
And you can still
I'm
make
like,
your decision.
yes,
And you
you can
still
still
make
say
whatever
no.
decision.
You know
Yeah.
what I thought? Like, I was talking to a guy who has a son that plays D1, and has a daughter that may go play for Dawn Staley. And I was talking to him, and I was like, the one person that could call her and help her out in this moment is Michelle Obama. Like, if Michelle Obama called her and said, "Look, I understand, man. I'm really proud of you," and all this stuff. I thought to myself, man, that could be, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but she sort of turned around and she's going to go to the White House and all that other stuff. I don't know what happened, but if you told me that it was Michelle Obama who gave her a quick phone call and sort of let her understand the broader picture, but also supported her, I think you need to support her as well. I mean, like, I place such a value on those voices that can help young people in that moment.
Absolutely.
Because not
Absolutely.
who is 20 and has the whole world watching them? Not me. I'd have been an idiot. I'd have been a
Yes.
complete idiot at 20 and the whole world
Yes.
watching. So
Oh
I mean,
my
I just think there
gosh.
needs to be that support.
Advocates. You need advocates. You need a friend. You need somebody to kick you in the
Yes,
pants. All of it. Especially
absolutely.
as the younger you are.
No, yeah, and so that's the thing is, like, I always think about, like, I always look at the age and think, what's Jod, 23, 24?
I think
I
so.
was I
24
was a
years old.
I was
Yeah.
a I was a kid at that age. I was a
Yes.
kid. I
Absolutely.
didn't
Same.
have I didn't have $100 million. I didn't have every camera anywhere. If I walked into the grocery store, if I walked into the shoe store, every camera's pointed at me. I didn't have that. And I don't know if I could have handled it. It's not easy for anybody. So I think there's always your first inclination should be to have some grace with these folks and understanding of what they're going through. It's fine to be critical, but I think some grace is important.
And it's hard to cancel children. I,
That's
I
the
get, I
thing.
get, I get understanding. I get understanding and wanting to be better and trying to make society better, but you can't cancel kids. Kids are
No.
still developing their brains. Like,
Yes.
they have to be given a chance to be somebody, to do something, and to learn from their mistakes. If you just say you make a mistake and you're done, are we going to give the societal death penalty to a child?
It's like you said, we love redemption. I'm a fan of grace. I read Arthur Ashe's book, Days of Grace. Incredible book. I
Mhm.
just think it's valuable. I'm gonna have some grace with this dog that's barking outside my window right now. But yeah, so like I think it's valuable. It's just I just wish and hope that society goes that way. I feel like the way we talk to each other because of social media. But as I get older, the more I think about it, the more I think, like it's better to have a bit of understanding.
Absolutely. So you said earlier that you're kind of not even liking the Grizzlies, because I was going to ask you who's the favorite to knock off to knock off the 1 seed in the West, and I said I was going to ask you Grizzlies of the field, but you said you think that the Grizzlies are going to have trouble with the Lakers, if
I
I heard you
do.
correctly.
I think, like, here's an interesting question. In fact, I'm going to pose this as a Twitter question when we're done. If
Okay.
I could offer you Golden State and the Lakers or the Western Conference field, what do you take? I
Oh,
think I take the Western Conference field, but it's not a snap decision. It's not a
that's a great
snap decision.
question.
That's well, and so that tells you
Because
how
the
much
Suns, I like the Suns.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. So you're right. Yeah. Oh gosh. So the one thing that's remarkable about the Suns is there's some stats with Kevin Durant on the floor with his new team. They're just overwhelming. They're overwhelming.
Yes.
They're dominant.
Yeah.
So if that really carries forward into the playoffs, they're probably the favorites to me. I don't think that Denver's the favorites, and it goes back to what we were talking about with the MVP. They have not only not proven that they can win it, they've proven over and over again that they struggle to get far in the playoffs. So just having that home court advantage, which is a big home court advantage because you're at that mile high altitude, but just having that isn't enough. I think I don't think that Denver or Memphis or Sacramento is the favorite. I think you got to get down to 4 where Phoenix is. I still don't count out the champs, Golden State, although they could lose in a hurry.
Me either. Yep.
And the Lakers, just because of what they've been like once all the trades have made and once they've been healthy. They lost an ugly game to the Clippers the other night, but I think they're good.
They can put that on fatigue, but they're going to be fatigued in the playoffs. So,
well, here's another thing to think about, Matt, is that the playoffs for TV, and I work for TV, so I'm not going to hate it too much. There's a lot of rest between games. So I've said for years that the playoffs bring older players back into it more. Older players perform better in the playoffs because Steph Curry at age 35 is going to have 3 and 4 days of rest between each game rather than back to back or night of travel then somewhere else. The playoffs advance older teams better than the regular season does, I think.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a thought.
What about in the East? Better chance to knock off the number 1 seed, the Celtics or the field?
Oh, geez. So here's what I'll say on that. I think that the Celtics and the Sixers are about even to knock off the Bucks. But I don't think there's anybody. I mean, like, I'm having to say, could Cleveland do it? I doubt it.
No.
I guess I would take the field because I think the Sixers are even with the Celtics or just slightly behind them. And then I think maybe the Cavs have a 5% chance at a series against the Bucks. But so I'd take the field, but it's very tight.
So it's a 7-game. You think if the Celtics and the Sixers face, it's a 7-game series?
If they face each other, yeah, I do. I think my gut says that goes down as a classic series. And could go down to like a one possession where your personal blood pressure would be 300 over 200 in that moment. But I just think it'd be tight. I think it'd be really tight.
Yeah, and it would be especially okay. You asked me earlier, like, would a conference title appearance be enough? It's way, way more than enough if they were to beat the Celtics and then go to the conference finals. Even if they get swept by the Bucks, maybe, but still, even getting there would be huge. And then just getting rid of those demons. I mean, those guys just a couple hours up the road in Boston are a real problem. I mean, they have terrorized us. They have beat us up and taken our lunch money for far too long.
Yeah, no,
and I'm afraid they might do it again.
Well, and the problem now is Robert Williams is healthy again. So, he's a real issue down there. He wasn't really terribly healthy in the finals, so the Golden State sort of got away with one there.
They did.
But like Golden State, if they're just shooting hot, they're tough to beat. I think that I think Philly can do something. I still, in my gut, I say if Milwaukee's healthy, nobody's beating them. They're the champs. I don't care who comes out of the West. I don't care who comes out of the East. I think Milwaukee's the champs. I mean, there may be a coach out there who has designed a way to stop that Bucks team. I haven't seen it yet.
Build
Toronto,
a wall, guys.
Toronto years ago used to build the wall. I think they figured out the wall now. So I think you're gonna have to figure something else out with the Bucks. I hope, I hope that it's super competitive. I wouldn't want Milwaukee to walk all over everybody. I think that's bad for the league. I think that's real bad. I mean, it's not bad for the league, but I just think like next year, all anybody's going to be saying is, well, Milwaukee is the heavy favorite. They get into that Golden State territory.
Absolutely. I mean, all you can hope for with the Bucks is Giannis is not, there's some kind of thing that's holding Giannis back from being Superman, and you've got to be hot from three. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
That's it. And the thing about Milwaukee, if you think about their starting lineup, they're gigantic. So they can cover on rotations on those threes pretty quick and close out quicker than most teams can. They have depth, so they can rotate guys in and out and in and out and in and out. They have shooters that they can bring off, just like the fact that Joe Ingles just shows up on their darn roster. I mean, what the heck is that? That's ridiculous. So I don't know. They just have so much talent.
Great roster construction in Milwaukee. Got to give it up to y'all. Beau, where can we follow along, and what should we look for? Check out to catch you before I'm able to bring you back on during the playoffs.
I will be all over these playoffs. I'm at NBA BEAU, NBA Beau on Twitter. If you click on NBA.com and listen to a highlight or a top 10, that's me yelling at you. And I will be, I'm getting ready to do Sports Business Classroom. So we bring a ton of young, talented people to Las Vegas for Summer League. Myself, Larry Kuhn, Dave Dufour, Eric Pincus. And for a week, it's an absolute immersive experience. They come in and learn the NBA. I teach broadcasting. Larry teaches the salary cap. Dave teaches scouting. And it's a fantastic experience. And the trail of people that we have gotten hired into the league is one of the great accomplishments in my career that I never expected. It thrills me. It just thrills me to see young people succeeding. And, I don't even want to say I have a hand in it, but just to be able to know them and support them along that way is great.
I always say the mark of a good person is being able to want to see others succeed, even if it's not, your success or taking credit for it. So that's awesome.
You want to plant the tree that you won't see grow to its full height. You want to be that person that plants that tree.
That's right. Beau, thank you so much for coming on. I'll see you soon.
Pleasure, buddy.